So today, we're going to dive into this really beautiful and honestly profound story. It's all about what happens to the things we lose, how we work through our sorrow, and how by just tending to our own grief, we might actually find our way back to who we are. Let's get into it.
I mean, listen to how this story kicks off. Right from the very first line, it pulls you into this world that feels like a fairy tale you've somehow forgotten. It just sets this tone that's both magical but also weirdly familiar, kind of like a dream you can't quite remember. So, what is this place? Well, the story introduces it as this kind of sanctuary for anything that was ever loved and then, forgotten. It's not a spot you can find on a map. It's more of a space that exists somewhere between memory and dreaming, where lost songs, forgotten acts of kindness, and even people can find a home.
And this is where it gets really interesting. It has this dual purpose, see? It's a place for lost things, sure, but it's also a refuge for lost people. And that connection is the absolute heart of the story. The garden holds on to what we've lost so that we can find what we've lost inside ourselves.
This one detail tells you pretty much everything you need to know. The garden just doesn't play by our rules. I mean, its water runs upward, it completely defies logic and physics, which kind of suggests that healing and remembering, well, they follow a whole different set of natural laws. And this whole idea really comes to life with the first keeper we meet, a man named Tomas. He was a watchmaker, a guy all about precision and order who stumbles into the garden completely broken after the death of his daughter. He's walked so far away from his own sorrow that he's literally worn a hole through his world and into this one.
So, the garden immediately puts him to work. But this isn't about physical labor. It's emotional labor made real. He has to directly engage with his past, watering flowers with his memories, telling stories to trees. It's this powerful idea that grief isn't something you just endure. It's active, essential work you have to do.
At first, though, Thomas is stuck. All he can remember is his sorrow, and he thinks that's no good, that he needs happy memories to make things grow. But then, this wise old rosebush teaches him this incredible lesson. The garden doesn't care. Any real emotion, even the painful stuff, can be a source of life. It can all be water.
It's a really powerful idea, isn't it? I mean, just think about it for a second. If you had to fill a watering can with your own memories to grow something beautiful, which ones would you pick? The happy ones? The sad ones? It's just such a perfect way to show how every single part of our past has value.
And this is the big breakthrough for Tomas. By tending to his deepest sorrow, the loss of his daughter and his feeling of failure, he doesn't make the pain go away. No, instead, his grief literally transforms and grows into 3 mechanical birds, which are these symbols of a hope he was sure he had lost for good.
So Tomas kind of sets the blueprint for the garden, right? He establishes this core principle. You can transform loss into something totally new. But here's the thing. He's not the only keeper. Others come after him, and each one brings their own sorrow and their own unique way of transforming it.
This table here lays it all out so clearly. You've got Tomas the watchmaker, then comes Anna, a musician who literally lost her music when her brother died, and after her, Marcus, a poet who couldn't find the words after his wife passed. Every single keeper takes their own personal, specific loss and turns it into a kind of universal gift. For Anna, her grief was a literal silence. She couldn't get her violin to make a sound. But in the garden, as she learns to tend to her sorrow, a new violin grows from it. The very silence that had trapped her becomes the wellspring for a new and even more profound kind of music. And it was a similar story for Marcus the poet. Words just felt empty to him. But in the garden, he discovered that the most direct, raw, and painful stories about his grief, well, those were the most true. His raw pain became a new kind of poetry, one with this incredible, unflinching honesty. And this right here, this is basically the mission statement for the entire garden, carved right into its main fountain. It's the lesson that every keeper learns. Love and loss aren't opposites. Loss is just love in a different shape, a shape that can be tended and grown into something new. Okay, but just when you think you've figured out what the garden is all about, the story throws a curveball. It introduces a final keeper who changes everything. They're called Little Spark, and they've lost not just a person or a skill, but their entire memory. They show up as a total blank slate. And this is a fundamental shift, a huge one. All the keepers before Little Spark were focused on doing something with their grief, building, composing, writing. But Little Spark has no past to transform. Their gift isn't doing, it's just being. Pure, quiet, non-judgmental presence. And this is the ultimate lesson Little Spark brings to the garden, and really to us. Through their quiet presence, the garden realizes its purpose isn't just to be a workshop for turning pain into art, it's also a sanctuary, a safe space where some sorrows can just exist. No pressure to become something else. They just need to be held. So with this final piece of the puzzle, we get to the garden's true purpose. See, it was never really about healing just the keepers inside its walls. The garden was always connected to our world, sending out these little ripples of everything that was grown there. And you can see here how that inner work becomes this outer grace. Thomas's birds find children who need a song. Flowers from the garden pop up in impossible places. Anna's music and Marcus's words find their way to people who need to hear them, just offering a little bit of comfort and connection. And that's really the core message at the end of the day. It suggests that our most private work, that quiet, sometimes painful job of tending to our own grief, it has this collective positive effect. The healing we do for ourselves is never just for ourselves. It becomes a small mercy for the world, a quiet act of grace for someone we might not ever meet. And that leaves us with this one last powerful thought. This story isn't just a fairy tale, right? It's a metaphor for our own inner lives. It's asking us to see our own sorrows not as wastelands, but as gardens. And so it leaves us with this question to really think about. If that's true, what are you growing there?